Welcome to Ireb Resistance Radio, where we discuss the resistance work going on in Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District. Ireb is a local indivisible group formed following the 2016 election in opposition to an executive that we feared would do grave damage to our country. As our concerns have been proven out, so has our membership grown. We attract people from across the political spectrum. But make no mistake, we are united as a progressive force in Minnesota politics. Join us on our Facebook page by searching for the Indivisible Resistance of Eagan and Burnsville. Okay, here we are with Ireb number 12 with our new House candidate, Marla Vagts. She's here representing 58B. Senate District 58 is that Senate district down somewhere near Lakeville. I know that Matt Little is your senator. Hi, Marla. Welcome to Ireb Radio.
Hello, nice to see you.
Thanks for coming on today. So, we're going to have a little bit of a question and answer. And the thing that we like to do first, though, before we get started with anything else, I should start out. I want to give a few announcements for the listeners. Ireb is a totally self-funded operation. We do have a GoFundMe page, so go search for the Indivisible Resistance of Eagan Burnsville on the GoFundMe page if you want to help us out with the work we're doing. And look for irebradio.com coming soon, where we finally have a website, so we'll be putting that on real soon. So now, getting back to our guest, Marla. Marla is a House candidate, and we're doing our best to showcase these House candidates that are running here down in CD2. They're all pretty magnificent people. I've met all of them, and I've met Marla, and I've been to her home once for a fundraiser, and she's pretty awesome, and she has a wonderful story. And so the first question, Marla, and Ireb, when we have meetings, when people come through the door, because we're training people to become activists. And so we want people to kind of give us their best thing that they got. And the easiest thing for a person to talk about is what it is that made them stand up and get involved in politics. Now, I know a little bit about your story because I read ahead, of course, and I know some of the difficulties that you've had with your husband. And I see how that has motivated you, and I wanted to, there's a connection there for me too. I lost my son to an opioid overdose 6 years ago, and honestly, I've been finding strength in using that as a means of doing some good. And so I wanted to say that I have that connection with you. So, having stole a little bit of your thunder, I'd like you to talk about, what caused you to stand up and get involved.
Well, the thing that you're right, the thing that really got me started in politics and even being interested in being an activist or anything like that was my husband's cancer. We went through 8 years of him fighting cancer. It was a rather rare kind of cancer, and we had to go through a lot of different treatments, and there were things that came up as we were on our journey. But in the end, it was just too aggressive. They could not stop it. But after he passed away, the thing that saved us honestly in the last year of his life was we had gotten a letter from our insurance company saying that he had hit his lifetime maximum and he would no longer be covered. And that was, we knew that was a thing. We knew that was out there, but when you get that letter, there's really nothing like the terror that comes over you when you see it. We had 5 children. Our life was very, very full, in the thought of just losing coverage was terrifying. So then the ACA was passed, the Affordable Care Act, and that law took those letters away and made them obsolete. So that saved my family. It also saved my family after he passed away. We were able to keep our kids on insurance until they were 26. So those two things were very, very important to my family in particular. And after he passed away, it was just me. All my kids were grown. My youngest child had gotten married and left the house shortly after Tim passed away. And so it was like, what do I feel passionate about? Well, a lot of people were talking about the Affordable Care Act, and trying to already do things to take it away. And it was like, no, that saved my family. That saved me from financial ruin. So I started small by just being part of Organizing for Action, an Obama group that was really, very much on the ACA and promoting it. Then I decided to go to dip my toe into politics, and I just wanted to watch the process from the beginning to end in the 2014 election. And I went, and they were looking for somebody to run, and I'm kind of jump in the deep end of the pool kind of person, so I did. I ran in 2014. That was my first run. Now I'm to my third, and obviously I learned a whole lot of things, but I wouldn't. I'm so glad I did, because it has brought an awareness for me of all the things that are hurting the people in my area. And when you have something that has hit your family, you want to help other families too.
Well, wow, that is it's a powerful story. I've heard you tell it before, and the determination that it took to get through that, and then the resolve that you have now, and the good work that you're doing. I was enjoying looking at your website here, and I actually should share that real quickly. And I got to cut that out. Maybe in editing, I should. Waste all this time doing that, but there we go. There's your website, and
yep.
And so what I would like to, as we talked a little bit about your husband and your family, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Then what are you doing? What other kinds of things are you doing? Where did you go to school? That type of thing. Let's learn a little bit about who you are.
Well, I've had kind of an interesting life, and I've kind of gotten to taste what it's like to be a part of any number of different communities. I started out in Upper Michigan. That's where I was born and raised until I was 10. It was a very small town.
What's its name?
Very small town on the lake.
I was in the Coast Guard up there, so I'm curious. What town?
The town is named Lance.
Oh, no, it didn't.
Yeah, it's a French name. It's capital L apostrophe capital ANSE. So It looks like the beginning of Lansing, but it is Lance.
Okay.
So so I grew up with tons of family around. Our family was known by everybody. My grandfather was the chief of police for years. My mom had a very large family, the Waters family. Everybody knew who the Waters family was. So that was my upbringing. And then we moved to Minneapolis, and then I lived in South Minneapolis until I got married. So I went to high school at Washburn High School in South Minneapolis, and it was such an amazing change from this little small town to coming to the city. And all the things I heard from my small town friends as to what it was going to be like in the big city made it a little terrifying. And when I got here, I found it fascinating. There was so much culture and so many people of different walks of life, of different colors, of different ethnic backgrounds and art, and just so many things that I found the city fascinating.
Minneapolis is a world-class city. It really is.
It is. It was a great place to go to high school and have, I still have a great deal of number of friends, from South Minneapolis. I'm still friends with many of the people that I went to high school with. So yeah, I have a lot of, a lot of kind of, interesting stories about growing up in Minneapolis, and then kind of, got married, moved out to this area, and now I'm kind of back in the small town again, but it's not, it's a suburb, a small town, but it still has all kind of the agricultural roots, which was not something I grew up in, but that is what I'm surrounded with. And I love my place. You saw it on the front of the website. it's a wonderful place to be. I love my place very, very much, and it gives me a lot of peace and solitude to be out here.
All right. Well, I have one pressing question, knowing that you're an UPer. Ketchup or gravy on the pasty?
Ketchup.
You're a ketchup? Okay. And is that
yeah, there's no gravy on the pasty.
Okay. I know it's a big controversy up there. All right. All right. So now I'm
impressed that you know that you have a little bit of Uper there.
Yeah. Well, so I like I said, I was actually stationed on the Lower Peninsula, but up near the tip of the thumb with the Coast Guard. So I worked the St. Mary's Seaway and up into Lake Superior, and then Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. So I did a lot of. I was on an icebreaker and buoy tender. I just was out all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool though. I like the area. It was beautiful up there. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about your race. You're running, and this is important to you. I mean, I was reading your site, and you've got a lot of issues there, and then they're well thought out. And I'd advise any of our listeners to dive into Marla a little bit more at marlavagts.com. That's MarlaVagts.com, and you can read up a little bit more. But she does a nice job of doing a little bit of a comparison between her and the Republican that she's trying to unseat. And I don't like to spend much time talking about the opponents on these shows, because these guys, I don't really want to give them any additional time for anything. But this guy, now Garofalo, right? That's how you pronounce it. This is the guy that several months ago was mean to those kids, right? About that tweet. Am I getting this right? Is that the guy?
Yes. He had a very unfortunate tweet that made it sound like, well, he said that if your parents vote for a Democrat, a puppy dies. It was a tweet that I assume he meant to be funny.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't actually say that to the children, which I'm very happy to hear. Okay. But the school had to tweet that out as a correction. He didn't actually say this to the students. We verified that.
Yeah. Okay. I sometimes these guys do some bonehead things, and then they just hope everyone forgets. And I think it's important that we keep track of people that are not responsive to their constituents. Anyway, so going along that line, and I don't want to get negative here too much, but you've got a vision. So what is your vision? What are some of the things that you want to do better than this guy's doing?
Well, one of the things that is important to me is that, in kind of the last couple of years, a lot of people have really awakened to watch their government more closely, to be involved, to be more involved in it, to understand what's going on. And I want to be that kind of representative. I want to be the kind of person who has coffees down in Farmington, not just up at the Capitol. People don't always have to come to me. I come to them and talk to them just, about their everyday lives. What do you need? What are things that you want in a representative? What are your most important issues that you want brought to St. Paul? Do you need help with something? I mean, I talked to people at the doors, and there was somebody that really needed help with an issue. Not that I could, it would be a legislative thing, but it certainly would be something that I could advocate for them up at the Capitol and say, I need to know who her family is hurting because of this, and that's not okay. We need to fix something's wrong. It needs to be fixed. So that's the kind of representative I want to be, and that is not the kind of representative that we have. I know I have talked to so many people at doors, and they get frustrated because they try and contact him. He doesn't get back to them. If they have multiple issues, he'll just stop all talking to them, emailing back, and he'll just ignore them from that point on.
So his lack of contact with his
constituents. That's not okay. We want people to be involved in what we're doing at the Capitol. I mean, because obviously that's the purpose. We're there. We're not letting those people talk to you and let you know what their issues are. Then I guess you're just up there doing your own thing. And that's not what I want to be. I'm not in this to be a politician. I'm in this to be a public servant. And I want to bring that term back because politician has such a negative connotation, and that's not how we want our government anymore.
No,
I want to be different.
I know that, and that's what that's the sense I get when I listen to you speak, is about how you're going to be that servant and not that uninvolved politician who is playing the numbers and distancing himself. So let's talk about a couple of the issues. One of the things that's really important in your neighborhood, I know, is small business. I mean, everyone around there is running some form of small business or another. They're all
absolutely
or something like that. I've heard and I think in some cases there is some valid concerns about the onerous regulations on the small businessmen.
Yes.
How is that? How can we fix that better? Or fix that better? How can we make that better?
That is what I have heard as well. When I'm talking to people that are small business people, they're saying, can we get rid of some of the some of the paperwork, we just have to do so many things to do the smallest thing, to move forward in the least way. And I think that really needs to be addressed. The problem is that we have so much concern and so much legislation that deals with large businesses that we really forget the small businesses. I know we small business in a very general term, but like over 90% of the businesses in Minnesota are 10 people or less. They're that small. And those are the ones that we have to take care with. They need the help. They need the legislation. They need the attention that they have not gotten, because, I mean, the term small business can go, in the business world, it can go up to a quite a large business. Mm-hmm. So it's still called small. But we want to talk about the small businesses, the mom and pop places that are all over. It's the farmers, it's the small businesses that are really driving our economy, and we need to be listening to them. So I would really like to have like a roundtable discussion of small business owners and have them tell me, what are the things that you find so onerous and you are so sick of, and it seems like it should not be that difficult. Yes. Those are the things I want to work on. Big business has had enough of our attention.
You're the person to come to for those types of issues in your area. I love the sound of that. All right, let's move on. So there was a number of other topics I wanted to cover. So transportation and broadband, and really, so a lot of those are just all going to be kind of bundled up into infrastructure investment. And we've actually been struggling a little bit tonight with that. You're living in an area that's recently been hit by some storms, and your infrastructure is a little bit ragged, and so we've had a little difficulty keeping your connection up. This is something I think we've been talking about for years. How are we going to break that door down and get the broadband out there to the people who need it, and not this satellite service that your opponent is proposing? I mean, it's ridiculous. Anybody in IT knows that that's not an excuse for anything close to broadband. And
absolutely.
And let's get some roads built out there. Let's get some trains built out there. Let's let the rural folks start participating in our economy. And so, of course, I just got on the soapbox about that. But you go ahead, Marla. Tell us what you think about it. You're the one. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot in my district. There's a lot of townships. So there's a huge number of residents that are not tied to a town as easily as like even I am in Farmington. And I'm only 4 miles outside of like the middle of Farmington. And I didn't have reliable broadband until about 2 years ago. The only option I had was Frontier Communications, and they are currently under investigation by the Public Utilities Commission for some of the issues that people have had. They don't have service. So even if you technically have service, that doesn't really mean you have it. And there's many places out here that have none at all. They have no options at all. So that's stopping all of these small areas from thriving. Because if you can get people to live there, then the town will grow, it will thrive, things will come, there'll be commerce. If you don't, they're out, might as well just be out on an island. They've got no way to do commerce. They have no way. If they could have the greatest idea for a business ever, and they could never put it to fruition because they don't have internet. I talked to a couple that just at one of my events last week, and they had just moved here, and their test, not only having a house that was going to be great for them, but they had to have the internet because he was going to be working at home. He had his own business. So we have to work in conjunction with the telecom companies and the people in this area to find out how we can get it to all of them. It is not a one idea solution. It never has been, and that's the problem I have with, kind of throwing something to the wall and saying, hey, you can all get this. Just be quiet about that now.
All right.
Satellite is something that is a problem. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for a minute. And I saw it come up. I'm sorry. You were going to start to say something about satellites.
Satellite is not the answer, like you said. I've talked to so many people that say that's not good. It's like dial-up. It's slow. And we need to have people in this area have equal access to internet. Don't just throw something at them so they can have something, even though it is so far behind what everybody else has that you're not really giving them something that they can use. So we need to have the spending as a state on that, because the return on investment out here is tough. You're not going to find a whole bunch of houses, with this huge return on investment. So we're going to have some state, have the telecom companies come to the table and give us the internet that we need. It will have to be multiple ways of doing it, because not every way works for every house. There's valleys, there's hills, there's places that make the topography impossible for like a wireless system, which is what I have. So yeah, it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. Otherwise, we are going to make all these smaller areas and townships just wither on the vine, because they will not be able to keep people there.
Right. And they won't be able to compete in today's market. The rest of the world is doing this. We're already behind a lot in the infrastructure development game.
Yes.
Made a visit. So as we're running out of time for today's visit, we want to finish with an interesting or a kind of a different question. And what we had thought about is, what's the most interesting thing that you've learned about or gotten involved with, recently that's non-political?
Well, it's kind of hard to say, because my whole life has been completely deep sixed in the campaign. It's an everyday, and then I also work full time as well, so it's kind of an everyday. But the joys that I get from doing all this and being out on the doors, especially, is that I cover. Our family has more dogs than it does people, and that is. I've even posted some of those, on my Facebook page and on Twitter and Instagram, because that's kind of the joy that I get from being out there. I love animals, and I've had more people say to me, they are usually that friendly to people they don't know. It's just like, I'm a dog lover. They know it. They know it.
You're the dog whisperer.
One of the joys of kind of being out there on the campaign trail, and honestly, I've been out there for months. So yes. I haven't really had a lot of outside things. I love crafts, and I love Pinterest, and I want to, I have a camper that I want to redo the inside of. Those are the kinds of things that I love to do. Unfortunately, my time has not been able to be spent on that kind of stuff. But those are the kind of things that I really want to do, want to get back to once I have my life back.
Well, hopefully we'll be occupying your time with some state's business in just a few.
I really hope so.
Yes, I hope
You know,
so
this
too.
is my third run, and you know, I don't give up easily. But you know, that's what kind of got me to where I am today. It got me into the career I am today. It got me to be the mom I am today. It got my husband into every treatment and every possible thing that could have saved his life when he was sick. And that's kind of who I am. So I want to bring that to the state because I do not give up.
Thank you, Marla. Thank you for running. I'll
Thank
be,
you.
all right. Take care.
All right.